Ross Hardy, InkJetCarts Technical Support. We're back here with the IPF 8300. We're still in service mode. It's an old printer that I've had parked for a while, and I might have to replace the print heads. But at the same time, I just put in 12 new refillable cartridges full of ink, and they're all reading full because they come with new chips. So what I want to do is show you on the far right icon that you have service mode active, but that's not where you're going to go to head clean. The first thing I want to do is go to maintenance and see if I can save these heads. And I'm going to go to head cleaning, and then I'm going to choose head cleaning B. If you have a APC backup on this printer and you leave it on 24/7 like you should, it automatically does head cleaning A's all the time. And if it finds any problems and it wakes you up at night, or you're walking through the hall and you see it's cleaning, it doesn't ever report back to you whether it passed the cleaning or not. It just lets you know it's wasting ink. Whenever you're in service mode and you're trying to fix something that you know, like you've already reviewed our real nozzle check under service mode called the nozzle 1, you want to run head clean Bs. So go ahead and commission to run a head clean B. It's going to be more aggressive. It's going to waste more ink. But guess what? The printer's already been wasting a lot of your ink if there's any problems with the nozzle check. And after it's through head cleaning with an A, it does not report back to you unless there is an actual error, which means both sets of jets of at least one color cannot be cleaned up. And then it will report back to you with an error code. Now, I was able to boot this old printer up that's been parked for at least a year. And long story short, I did put new inks in it. I'm gonna see what I can do with these heads before I change them. But long story short, I'm gonna show you everything you need to do on a regular basis to keep your printer healthy. And that would be a nozzle 1 check from service mode every month. Maintain your maintenance cartridge, repack it, reset the chip before it's full. That way you don't have to waste $15 on a new chip. And don't waste your time with a head cleaning A when you're in service mode and you already know that you have a problem on the nozzle 1. Instead, do the head clean B, get fresh inks in the printer, and try to save your head and see what's going on. Let it finish. As soon as it's finished, you're going to go back into service mode and you're going to print another nozzle 1 check to see what the difference is between check 1 and check 2, and you're going to make a note of the differences. We're going to let this process complete without editing and without trimming until we print our nozzle 1 check to show the difference between a printer that's been parked off for well over a year and see what nozzle check 1 versus nozzle check 2 looks like. After it completes head cleaning, it's going to do an automatic nozzle check, and it's going to throw codes if there's a problem. If there's no problem, it'll pass, and then you can go back to seeing your nozzle 1 check from service menu. Message light is flashing because we're staying in service mode while we see if we can save these heads. Ross Hardy, InkJetCarts Technical Support. It automatically found problems, and because you're doing a B head cleaning, it's going to keep cleaning, and it's going to give you progress. I hope you can see that. What we're hoping to achieve here is 1-year-old parked printheads with older inks in there than 1 year, and then we changed out to refillable carts with fresh inks while we were in service mode, and we produced a service mode print pattern 1 that showed 3 colors we're printing out of 12, and we're going to show you what we can possibly do to try and save our heads, even under these obscure and bad conditions. We've moved this printer well over 100 miles to a new location. We parked it for a long period of time, never fired it up in at least a year. And now we're going to show you what the print pattern looks like after all of these, bad events. But at least we put fresh inks in there. And if we have to change the heads, we'll change the heads. But I want to see what it's going to do after a head clean B and see the progress and then show it to you. Okay, 2F30, turn off printer and then wait. So guess what? It does not like what it's seeing, and that's a printhead error. So I'm going to show you what to do if you get one of those error codes. And of course, you should make a note of the error code before you call us or email us. First thing I'm going to do is boot back up into service mode once again and show you that even after head clean B and a I did release those buttons too early. Let's see if we get the S. Yes, we do. So we're still going to go into service mode after this boot up because I pressed the right sequence, load and navigate, before pressing the power. I didn't hold them, but I did release the power button before I released those two keys. Once it boots back up, we're going to go to service mode and see what kind of progress we got out of the head clean B from the very first check. And I'm sure that I'm probably going to be replacing both of these heads. But at the same time, I like to know why. And I'd like to know how well I did on that first head clean B. I will exhaust up to 3 head clean Bs to save a head or 2 heads. But I will not exhaust any more ink than 3 head clean Bs. So the first thing we're going to do is go back to the menu, go back to service mode. We're going to, once you see display, find adjust, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow until you can't anymore, and then hit OK. And print nozzle 1 test print. And now we'll see the progress between the head clean B, the very first one, on a parked printer, versus the head clean or the nozzle 1 check that it produced with no head cleans and only fresh inks in the printer. So, I produced my first, nothing on the left head whatsoever. Only 3 colors on the right head, and they're all black. And then after 1 head clean B, I lost one of the blacks, but I picked up some color on all of the others of the right head, and I picked up some color of all of the left head colors, and even a sliver of what I guess is photocyan, the first slot. So that would tell me that I'm going to continue the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into the menu system and print another head clean B, because that one produced a lot of results. And since I now have fresh inks in the printer and I'm recommissioning this printer after a long period of idleness and powered off and not completely full carts and old inks, I'm going to give it a whirl. And because this was promising. This was promising that I might be able to save a head, even if I can't save them both. So, long story short, that's all I had on the very first one. That was the initial. And after 1 head clean B, yeah, sure, I digressed on this first black, but I picked up so much more. After 1 head clean B, I'm going to give it a whirl. I would rather waste ink than 2 print heads. However, I do have them. We sell them, and we offer them at a discount to our regular customers over retail, and we're here to help you. Head clean bees take a lot longer. In addition to taking a lot longer, they do other things. You get capping station action out of the pad. You get agitation out of the ink tanks. Occasionally you can hear the agitation of the ink tanks happening when you hear a little bit more uh, agitation and a different pitch coming out of the printer. And all of this is the most powerful that you can possibly do. The only thing you could do different would be to load head cleaner in certain refillable carts and run that through. But you're gonna get no feedback, and you're gonna always throw an error code because head cleaner is clear and the printer cannot see the ink color after it's done. So bear in mind that would be a purge and then recommissioning, and you might even need to run the transportation, move the printer cycle after running a bunch of head cleaner through the heads with them still installed. Uh, Very rarely would you ever want to do the printhead change procedure and pull out the head. There's very little you can do with the head out of the printer. You can't really force anything through it. You could blot it and inspect it, but I can guarantee you in most cases you're never going to find anything off the bottom of it that you can clean off that is not cleaned off from the printer naturally when it parks itself on the pads. That would be another thing to check when the printhead carriage moves to the center. During the printhead change would be to check those pads to make sure they're moist, supple, and all the pads look good. Other than that, there's really not a lot you can do with the head and your hand other than the process that it pumps all the inks down on that channel of that left head, and then it pumps them back up after you put the new head in. So yeah, you get a power cycle and you get a lot of inks going out and a lot of new inks going in, but outside of that you're not getting any benefit by doing a printhead change, and you're not going to see a lot. And in fact, if you try to clean it mechanically, you can actually cause damage to the head, so I don't recommend it at all. I recommend that you stick with the head clean bees, the nozzle 1 checks from service mode. You stay in service mode with your flashing message light until you exhaust up to 3. Then you change one head at a time if that's necessary. Outside of that, pick your worst head first, change her, and then go back to printhead bees and head cleaning bees, and see if you can clean up the other guy after the new guy is firing perfectly. It's a longer video. It didn't like what it saw on the head cleaning after it checked the nozzles, so it's going to clean again, which is another benefit of a head cleaning bee. It'll probably still throw an error code, but at least we're going to have the opportunity to stay in service menu and pull up a service mode, adjust print pattern, nozzle 1, and see if there's any improvement over this last printed chart, which of course is terrible, but at least we'll be able to see the progress, and we'll also be able to show it to you. It'll do up to 2 head cleanings with agitation of the tanks as well as blotting of the underside of the head on the capping station, and then it'll either report an error code or it won't. If it does not, that doesn't mean you should boot out. That means you should print another nozzle 1 check and see what your progress is. And it did not like it again, which I expected. So it's going to do a third cleaning. And we're 22 minutes and a half into the process. But at least I'm showing you how to see the real details of what these cleanings are doing and how far back you can come from nothing, because I had 9 channels completely destroyed on this printer before I started this process 23 minutes ago. It's kind of a smart cleaning. If it doesn't feel like it's gonna save anything on a head clean bee, it won't even progress. It'll just throw an error code immediately. And if you noticed, we went through 3 head cleanings on the second head clean bee versus the first. So I'm expecting totally different results out of this nozzle 1 check. Maybe I might even be able to save 1 head. Maybe both. We'll see. If you don't have an hour to fix your printer, then by all means change both heads. If you don't have an hour to learn how to save things on your printer, by all means change both heads. We have them. They're cheaper than Canon heads. They're right here in case I need them. That was 1. This is 2. But I'm kind of hopeful that I might be able. Now I got a 2F41, 03800 500 2F41. So I do have to power the printer off on any service mode head errors, and a 2F41 is also a head error, but it's different than the 30 error we had earlier. So let's shut it down. And let's boot it right back up into service mode again. Even with these hardware errors, I'm able to do a nozzle 1. So once again, navigate and load and power. You can continue to hold these for a second or two after hitting power and release them. You're gonna get the service mode entry. And now we can do a third nozzle 1 check and see what it looks like. This is a long video because I want you to do this. I want you to learn from us. I want you to learn how to try and save a head if you can. Now, this printer's been parked for a long period of time and I'm still trying to save the head or the heads if possible. But at the same time, the only real way you're going to see what's going on with the heads is from service mode. Once again, we're going to go far right, we're going to hit OK, we're going to go to service mode, hit OK, we're going to right arrow to the adjust, down arrow, print pattern, nozzle 1, and print a new pattern. And this will be the third one. Bear in mind, I've done 2 head clean bees. I've already told you in the beginning of the video, we will exhaust up to 3 in an effort to save a head or 2 heads. But at the same time, I'm not going to give up on the third one until I see the pattern. Lo and behold, I got color. I want to show you the difference. 1 year parked, old inks. This was printed, left head is completely blank. Right head only has 3 blacks. After 1 head clean bee, I have lost 1 of the blacks. But I picked up some color from the remaining left or right side head, and now I picked up some color from the left head and a little bit from photo cyan. After 2 head clean bees, I now have picked up photo cyan and cyan completely, yellow completely, magenta and photo magenta completely. I have picked up blue and green, which weren't there. Red I have some of, and my 3 blacks are back out of the right head. This would be a promising trial to at least save both of these heads. After these conclusions, I would do a 3rd head clean bee and a 4th nozzle 1 check and see what I can do with it. If it still looked like nozzle check 1, nozzle 1 check number 1, I wouldn't have even gone to 3. But under these conditions, I will go to maintenance, head cleaning, and do 1/3 B. I'm going to have to give it up after that, and especially if it still throws an error code, it would be a good idea to shoot a picture of that error code, email it to me, I can tell you what it says, and at the same time, if you can't look it up on the web yourself, I can tell you what that head clean or what that error code means. But at the same time, I will exhaust a 3rd head clean bee, do a 4th nozzle 1 check, and it's gonna have to be rough. It's gonna have to be almost a perfect head cleaning after the 4th one. After the 3rd head clean bee for me to ever consider doing a 4th. I may get by with only changing 1 head today instead of 2 after a parked printer from over a year with even older inks in it than that. I may get by with only changing 1. We don't know. I have some defects on this chart on both heads. The right head is almost perfect, but however, the red concerns me. The left head is almost perfect, but I'm not getting anything out of the 3rd channel. And if you go to your ink bay and look at it, that's matte black. They're lined out just like your ink bay. So if you look at this color and that color, you don't have to see the color difference to know the difference. The first channel is PC, cyan, matte black, yellow. They're lined out just like your ink bay. And on the right head, it's red, green, blue, and then your blacks, okay? So that's how they're laid out. And bear in mind, each one is a different channel. This would be your left set of jets, your right set of jets. Left set of jets, right set of jets. And service mode turns off all the automatic stuff. So in other words, if you print this nozzle check from your regular customer menu, you're seeing this both patterns with only 1 set of jets. Both. You'd have to have perfectly printing heads. In other words, no digits missing. And print 2 of them. In the first report, if it's not from service mode, is going to be produced with the left set of jets, and the second nozzle check is going to be produced with the right set of jets. But how are you ever going to know that unless you're in service mode and you can actually see the details? So it's already done with the head cleaning. Now it's going to do a nozzle check. It's going to it may do 2 or 3 more head cleanings. We'll see. I don't really know if you can see all that. Maybe if I hold my hand here. Looks like we're getting some sunlight in from the front desk. but it did do a nozzle check on its own, and now it's going to do another cleaning. So it's still having difficulties. The difficulties it's having is the inks that were in there before were really old. And we still may wind up having to change both heads, but I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to show you the progress along the way. I realize it's a long-winded email. We're into 35 minutes plus, going on 36. And I'm going to show you that it's doing stuff. And I'm going to show you those changes in printed reports without killing this video. It's uncut and unaltered, and it's not trimmed or edited out. It's start to finish, and show you the difference in where you need to be to see what's going on with your printer, and where you need to go, and what you need to do. Okay, it's kind of doing, I think, the last nozzle check before it throws an error code and stops cleaning. I want to preface with something here, and I'm going to throw up some charts so you can see the change, because I know this has been a long-winded video, and we're about to print another one. And in case you fell asleep, I want to wake you up and show you something different other than a printer, and say, hey, this is important, because what I want you to see is how many channels we brought back from nothing. And the last thing I want to preface to you is that we're shooting bullets out, meaning the ink in the lines is old too, as well as the cartridges that were in this printer. And I'm still picking up a 2F41, so I'm going to reboot. But I'm going to preface to you that along with whatever is in those cartridges and in those lines, we're also pushing that through the system as well as through the head that is now firing on all but one channel. So when we put our new print heads in, they're not catching bullets. Do you really want to clog up your new print heads with what you're shooting down the lines? With that being said, I still recommend you do this procedure even before you change one single head for any reason. If all you live by is the regular power up menu and the regular head clean and wait for an error code, you're doing yourself a great disservice. And that disservice is what if your printer is in the same position mine is? Really old, really sitting around, not doing much in the last year, especially since we moved and relocated and we didn't have time for it. And what if your printer's in the same condition ours is? Do you really want anything in the lines not going through the old heads and instead going right into the new heads getting clogged? I would rather exhaust every opportunity to purge everything I can from this printer before I put new heads in. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the fourth icon, go back to service mode, find the adjust menu, down arrow, print pattern, nozzle 1. And we're going to print a new pattern. I'm going to show you what the fourth nozzle check pattern looks like. And it's still throwing an error, so I still know I have a problem with at least one head. I'm kind of hoping I don't have a problem with both heads. But if I do, I'm going to close the video and say we've done everything we can to save these two heads after 2-year-old inks plus a year parked, and we've done everything we can to show you what to do under every condition and what you should do first. So I'll remind you that we only had the 3 blacks. We brought back the red to almost perfect. We still don't have any matte black. None. 0. So we'll probably catch bullets, but everybody else is perfect on the left head. And the red is the only channel. Wouldn't that be nice if your printer was only parked for 6 months and you were looking at this pattern to begin with, instead of the one I was showing you before where there was nothing except these 3 blacks? That's good progress. So what I would do under this circumstance is I would go ahead and change the left head first and then try to save the right head. And that's what I'll do off camera. Is you don't need any help from me. You go to your regular menu and hit OK, and you go to maintenance, and you go to replace printhead. It's that simple. You can stay in service mode so you can print a nozzle 1 afterwards, which is what I would recommend after changing any head, is to be in service mode first, replace the printhead, and then go ahead and do a nozzle 1, because I've seen less than stellar nozzle 1s on a brand new printhead. And Canon, as I told you, as long as you're printing one pattern perfectly of either color or all of those colors on odds or even rows, it doesn't throw an error until you're printing. You have a problem with row 1 and row 2, or row 2 and row 4. So long story short, we're going to do that. We're going to go replace the left printhead first under these conditions. And then after we change it, we'll do a nozzle 1. And then if we have to, we'll do one more head cleaning bee and try to save the right head. It doesn't look promising, and I didn't expect it. That's why I have 2 heads out here ready to go, because of the conditions of this printer being parked for so long and older inks installed. But at the same time, we taught you everything you need to know and everything you should know about what to do before you change the printhead, how to properly inspect a real nozzle check, and how to do it all in service mode even when you're throwing error codes. And this is Ross Hardy with InkJetCarts technical support. Been doing this a long time. We're here to help you, we're here to serve you, and we hope you'll do business with us.